So good morning, everybody. We're coming to you live online from Congregation Torah Vachesed, where we meet temporarily here since Congregation Beth Yeshurun has been flooded. So we are coming from here. We're very grateful to our host, Rabbi Yaakov, and Congregation Torah Vachesed for allowing us to be here. We meet here every Thursday morning at 9:30 to discuss the weekly Parsha. And in this week's Parsha, we see the challenge that Rebecca was dealing with these two nations that are in her womb. You know, when she passed the study hall, our sages tell us, Yaakov was kicking. And when she passed the house of idolatry, Esau was kicking. And there are these two forces fighting against each other, so to speak. So I think like this, and as we know, that one was Yaakov, who was a righteous, God-fearing Jew, and we had an Esau who exemplified a commitment and dedication to the self, right? And I think that these are two. It's not only real people, but it's this is the identity of every Jew. The identity of every Jew is that within us, we have these two forces. We have the force of Yaakov and we have the force of Esau. We have the force, the Yetzer Tov, the good inclination, which is telling us, do good. Be selfless. Don't worry about the immediate reward. You'll get long-term reward. Versus the Esau, which is saying it's all about me now. We see Esau was ready to give his spiritual firstbornhood for what? For lentils. For something physical. It's this battle between the physical for me, for my body, for right now, versus a long-term vision. It's almost like, you know, people who invest. Why do people invest? Why do people have a 401k and they have all these, you know, why do they do it? Because they say, you know, even though I want that money now, I'm thinking to the future. Yeah, but don't you want to spend that money now? Don't you want to have that money? Yeah, but there will come a time where I'm going to be able to benefit from this on a much greater level. Right? The way it works in this world is not much different. Is that we can say, you know what, I want to invest in the future, for the future. And, by the way, our sages tell us it'll also be a benefit for now. You'll also enjoy it now. When we do a mitzvah, schar mitzvah, the benefit, the reward of a mitzvah is the mitzvah itself. Is the joy of doing the mitzvah, the fulfillment from doing the mitzvah, the happiness that comes from a mitzvah. So what's going to happen is that we perform a mitzvah, we're enjoying it here, but the real reward comes in the world to come. And we get that not at 59.5, right? But we get that at tax deferred, but you get it in the world to come. You get its full reward. That's one perspective. That's the perspective of Yaakov. Then you have the perspective of Esau. The perspective of Esau is, I'm not putting anything away. I don't want any rewards later. I want it all now. That's why he says, give me this red soup because I'm hungry. I want it now. I'm ready to give up something which is spiritual, something which is long-term, versus something which is short-term and immediate. And that's the challenge. With every single one of us, that's the challenge we face in our life. There's the things, you know, we try to go on a diet, right? What's the challenge of a diet? I want the food now. It looks good now. Yeah, but it's not going to help you long-term. So there's always that exchange. What am I willing to give up now for the long-term? Right? Nobody has gone through a diet and saying it was easy. No, it was a challenge every single day. Every time they saw food, it was difficult. But they had to do the long-term vision at the expense of the short-term. And that's the battle that we're facing. The battle that we're facing as human beings today is the same battle. The battle of Yaakov and Esau. Am I going to devote myself to a life which is completely devoted to the service of Hashem, where I don't see the reward immediately, per se? Or I'm going to devote myself to fulfilling my body, and I'll feel that reward, although it may be a counterfeit reward, but a temporary reward, and a minuscule reward relative. Right? Our sages tell us that the reward of 1 second, the reward of 1 second of the world to come, is more than all of the pleasures of all humanity combined. And it's not equal. Okay, so if you take the entire existence of man, so far it's 5,778 years since Adam. You take all of the pleasures combined of all of those human beings, it's not equal to 1 second of reward in the world to come. Short-term vision, long-term vision. Yaakov, Esau. So we have within us these two forces of Yaakov and Esau. It's within us. We have these two nations. Which one are we going to commit ourselves to? Are we going to commit ourselves to a devotion for the long term? Yeah, and you know what? There are going to be some parties I'm not going to be able to go to. And there's going to be some food I'm not going to be able to eat. And there's going to be some places I'm not going to be able to go. Right? And there are going to be some times I'm just not going to be able to be with other people. Or, right, and that's going to... But for the long term, it's much better. Versus, I want everything right now, and I want to just do this now, and I want to do that now, and I want to eat this, and I want to eat that, and I don't want to have to think about it. These are the two forces that we're challenged with. And I think that it's important for us to re-strengthen ourselves on a regular basis with a determination to focusing on a long term. It's not easy. It's never going to be easy. But again, it's short-term counterfeit reward versus long-term eternal reward that we're dealing with. So those are these two nations that we had. Now it's very interesting. I'm just going to add a little piece here. How is it possible, though, that, we know that Rivka loved Yaakov. That the Torah tells us very clearly. But the Torah also tells us that Yitzchak loved Esau, right? 1 second. What's there to love about this guy? He's a creep, right? He's busy hunting all day, and he's busy dealing with his own selfish worldly pleasures all day. That's it. He's only immersed in himself. What's there to love about? So I heard this from my grandfather himself. I heard this numerous times, where he said what he loved was the potential that he saw in him. That had it only been switched to spiritual, he would have been even greater than Jacob, greater than Yaakov. He had the power, he had the force, he had the ability, but he just had to change the channel. Not focus on the now, on the self, on the me, on the material. Instead, focus on the future, focus on the spiritual. It means he had the power. Had he only just channeled it properly, he would have been even greater. So what Yitzchak was loving was the potential that he had to become even greater than Jacob was. Right? But that's, again, you have these two forces. Each of us have incredible power, incredible abilities, and we shouldn't sell ourselves short for momentary physical, infusions. Right? Because, again, like we said, schar mitzvah, the reward of a mitzvah is a mitzvah. The reward of the mitzvah is doing the mitzvah. Right? It's not, I'll tell you, the notion that living a God-fearing, spiritual, Torah-observant lifestyle is limiting is a total sham. It's not true. It's not true. Especially today, we're dealing with in a modern world where you can get everything kosher, right? Today you have kosher cruises, you have kosher. So what's the limitation? It's all in our mind. Again, it's long-term versus short-term. All right. So with that, my friends, we're going to sign off online. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to continue our class here, Parsha's Toldos. I'm looking forward to it. But for those of you online, please, if you get a chance, and you can like and share these videos, we really appreciate it. So other people can reach others, and they can enjoy it as well, and hopefully learn something about the Parsha, be inspired perhaps. So thank you very, very much for joining us, and we're going to continue here. You're welcome to join us live in person every single Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Have a wonderful day, everybody.